2 минуты начинаем side event. Ben bir arada oturamam. Ha, rüçken var ya. Ha, şunu. Ha, bir arada oturamam da doğru. Yerde. Ha, mikrofon bana ona yapış gerek mi? Bana bir işti biraz mı iş yaptım? Ya bana nauşnik kalın. İşte yapalım. İşte yapalım. İşledim. Biraz. İşledim. Bana koşun. Bana çay hazır işledi mi? Ha, bunu koş gerek. İşledim. İşledim. Joyda oturup dururuz. Bir de turuş giyinegende 1 saat turuş. Üç kişi var da panelga 3 kişi var. Da oz bitta UNDP'niki İstanbulga uchib ketibdi o'sha. Bu yoqda onlayn qo'shiladi. Onlayn aytadi. Programma o'zgarmaydi. Profi onlayn. Dear ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our side event organized by the Ministry of Economy and the Poverty Reduction of the Republic of Uzbekistan, titled Green Economy Transition Strategy of Uzbekistan. And today we have a First Deputy Minister of Economic Development and Poverty Reduction of the Republic of Uzbekistan on panel, and we have Rodolfo Lassi from OECD, and let me give the floor for opening remarks to Mr. Ilham Norkul, the First Deputy Minister of Economy. Please, floor is yours.
Now it should be on. Dear participants of today's side event, first of all, I want to thank who are participating online and offline from this great place of COP26, and I want to say that it's a huge experience and huge kind of a platform which gives us to start with a new agenda, new plans, and new directions towards transitioning to green economy, and in general to fight against the climate change. And in this regard, I want to thank a special words to Karek, who's also made a great contribution for organizing today's event. And I want to say that this kind of event, especially COP26, Central Asian countries are coming together, participating in this way first time. And when we were here, we see lots of colleagues and partners, and we see how the global movement and is happening in real sense, and lots of meetings and lots of plans are being done here, and I think this kind of event that they should carry on, and we expect lots of good positive results. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and the floor is to Mr. Rodolfo Lassi from OECD, please.
Well, it is a pleasure for me to be here. 3 weeks ago, I was in Tashkent, of course, launching a high-level policy dialogue on the energy, water, land use nexus in Central Asia. Now that we are here in this COP26, addressing the climate change that is, of course, related with the water cycle, and is part of these challenges that you are facing in Central Asia. The OECD is really happy to participate with Central Asia countries and contribute to the green growth programs and your climate neutrality plans and commitments. We think that this is the moment, the historic moment to take action. And we are here because there is a new set of commitments. It's a decisive COP. Perhaps we will be able to align all our climate policies, environmental policies to this target of 1.5 degrees. And if we do that, we'll be, of course, creating some kind of a revolution in the energy sector, in the agricultural sector, in all the sectors that need to enhance the way of production to reduce their carbon footprint, to be more resilient, but also to be more friendly with the environment. We need really to rescue the planet, to rescue the biodiversity. Of course, in the way to do that, we need to create wealth, new green jobs. You know, the Uzbekistan is doing that. And we need to improve our productions, but also taking in account the well-being of our population. So I congratulate Uzbekistan for having this event, for organizing this first pavilion in the COPs. I believe that the region will be very relevant in the future developments of the climate management in the planet. Thank you very much for inviting us to this opening ceremony.
Thank you, Rodolfo. And now floor is with Ms. Laura Altinger, Head of Regional Nature, Climate and Energy Team, UNDP, Bureau for Europe and Central Asia. Please.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, Mukhtaram Ikom Nurkulov. I'm delighted to take part in this very important side event at COP26 on the green economy transition strategy of Uzbekistan. We very much appreciate the leadership of the government and particularly the Ministry of Economic Development and Poverty Reduction for the implementation of Uzbekistan's strategy for transition to the green economy. The green economy is a priority theme in the Europe and CIS region and 18 countries or jurisdictions in which we work. It offers a broad and comprehensive approach to development which spans the whole SDG spectrum. The green economy approach is at the heart of our work at UNDP. This is because we seek increasingly integrated approaches to looking at development issues. The old approaches where we try to tackle a development challenge with a single focus are waning. In their place, we aim to look through a systems thinking lens at how issues can be tackled in their entirety through an economic, environmental, and social perspective. And that is exactly what the green economy is all about. Indeed, our work in the RLC is a case in point. We have supported a first mover approach to look at the developmental case and worked with you, the government, and other development partners to explore priority interventions that can deal with this multifaceted challenge. I congratulate the government on its openness to try out this innovative methodology and for formulating the integrated roadmap for the RLC. It is an excellent basis on which to forge ahead to tackle the challenges with real action on the ground. Let me highlight 3 broad points to consider in connection with this country's green development. Investing in green jobs and achieving a just transition. Indeed, the ILO estimates that the transition will create 100 million new jobs. These aren't just numbers. Each and every one of these jobs is an opportunity for somebody to participate in building our green future. A more responsible use of natural and water resources and ecosystems in times of growing population and urbanization. This is often a neglected issue in the transition. Ruthless exploitation of nature has depleted biodiversity and with it reduced our quality of life. Third, more ambitious climate action to achieve or surpass the emissions reductions targets through greater energy efficiency, diversification of energy away from fossil fuels, and enhanced land use. UNDP is keeping pace with all the newest developments globally and nationally. Earlier this year in March, the Green Forum took place and a policy brief set out the challenges and opportunities for a green economy in Uzbekistan. I'm confident that the outcomes of this side event today will further shape our collective efforts and provide impetus to advance the green development agenda of Uzbekistan. UNDP stands ready to continue working with the government of Uzbekistan in implementing the green transition strategy, including supporting the government in developing the strategic framework for the materialization of the green strategy. We are also ready to offer modeling on the green economy, integrating aspects such as the green jobs, the carbon pricing, and a just transition, as well as building and expanding our investment portfolio in energy efficiency, renewable energy, combined heating and cooling, and advancing the circular economy, integrated water resource management, as well as protecting biodiversity and nature. We very much look forward to deepening our collaboration on these issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Altinger. Now we are going to the section with presentations. And first we start with the video presentation on green development in Uzbekistan. Please. Sorry, we are having some technical problems. I hope it will be solved in short. Dear colleagues, let's start with presentations. Please, technical staff. With presentations. So let's start with presentations. The floor is to Mr. Ilham Norkulov, Deputy Minister, the first Deputy Minister of the Economic Development and Poverty Reduction of the Republic of Uzbekistan. Presentation is titled Priorities for Green Economy Transition in Uzbekistan. Floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Speaker. Apologies if there are some technical issues regarding this video. We are trying to do our best, but taking into account the huge overcrowding situation here, there might be some technical issues. So before I go to presentation, I want to say again the words of thanks to Rodolfo and Ms. Altinger for their important words. Basically, even so they briefly took the floor, but they touched upon the very important issues, strategic issues about the green growth agenda in Uzbekistan. And we are cooperating with both UNDP and OECD and on this important talks. And international cooperation in this regard is very important for us. And I have to note that, without having in place our partners' assistance and the support, it would be hard to go forward with green growth agenda. Even so, we are still staying in the initial stage, but it's very important to plan, to prioritize, and to prepare a concrete and appropriate roadmap that is specific to Uzbekistan and for the Central Asian region. So, regarding the Uzbekistan's plans to join the green growth agenda in the global movement and to fight against the climate change and the decarbonization, I have to note that in the new era of reforms since 2017, we did several steps towards joining this, let's say, global movement. So in 2018, Uzbekistan ratified the Paris Agreement. Several ministerial conferences have taken place. So Uzbekistan was actively taking part in that initiatives. Presidential degree on strategy for the transition to a green economy was adopted in 2019. And Uzbekistan became a member of the East Climate Action Group. And so during the pandemic period, high-level authorities of Uzbekistan, they took part in several conferences and events which were aimed at global climate change issues. And today, we are actively working on implementation, most on implementation side of the strategy towards the green growth transition. And with the support of UNDP and World Bank, we prepared a strategic framework. And I think after this COP26, this draft will be enriched, and we will go to the next stage on the implementation. So today we also had several meetings with our partners, and we are also touched upon the long-term strategy. The long-term strategy, which means that going towards a net zero emission, and how we can do that, and how we can bring all our efforts and resources together with our international partners towards achieving net zero emission and decarbonizing our economy, but at the same time achieving the high level of economic growth, which is very important for us, improving the living standards and reducing the level of poverty. if we talk about the specifics of the green growth agenda in Uzbekistan, I have to note that the issue of the energy sufficiency and energy efficiency takes kind of a very important role. In this regard, we start to move on implementing projects which are relevant to generating the energy source from the renewable energies. And another important issue is increasing the agricultural productivity, given the condition we are facing, like the scarcity of water, and in some sense the land degradation is also important, and this also forms the main building block of our green growth agenda. And another important thing is that building the right capacity and developing the institutions in this regard is also important, and that is within the context of delivering the right policy agenda and ensuring it appropriate implementation or efficient implementation. This is also important, and we have to pay much attention here. Again, I have to note that we are working closely with our international partners, development agencies, who are trying to do their best in order to improve their institutional capacity. And talking about our plans until 2030 in green economy and low carbon development goals. So we came to the COP26 with the commitment to reduce our carbon intensity. Saying in other words, to reduce the carbon emission by 35% by 2030, and increasing the energy efficiency by two times. And and ensuring the 100% access to reliable energy, and expanding the clean transport, especially switching to slowly, step by step, to mobile system. And how we can move and how we can adapt is that will be another direction. It's the improving and using the water efficient technologies, especially in the agriculture sector, and implementing the drip irrigation technologies, and using the modern knowledge in order to stop the degradation and increase the productivity of the land. And another important area, I think, which will take huge and important attention is forestation. And you might know that recently our president held a meeting on environmental issues, and there was adopted our new plans towards like creating a green space. So 200 million trees will be planted every year all over the country, but it's not only the plan, as head of the state stressed. So we have to approach implementing this issue with knowledge, with innovative approach, in the sense that we have to take into account the specific conditions in different regions of the country. In some areas, there is a scarcity of water, and so appropriate trees and adaptable to that situation of plants that region have to be planted. And so we have to ensure that most of the green zones or green space will be developed without any kind of wasting the resource. So the RLC will be, of course, in the central point of our plan and program, and So in the next slide, you see our priorities, and I basically mentioned many of them. So sustainable and efficient use of the natural resource. Here again, the rural economy, tourism, and water and land agriculture, biodiversity. So ecosystem services and forestry, they will be the main, let's say, building blocks. And green, low carbon development of industry and the economy. So what are the directions here? They are circular economy, greening the value chains, and renew, generating the renewable energies, and greening the industries. So the urbanization will be also moving towards the, will be developing, let's say, based on the green approach. So all, you might know that we are now new 5-year program paying a huge attention on developing the urbanization. Here we pay special attention on using or implementing the green approach. So green transportation, green planning, so creating a green space. So they will be also in the agenda. And another block or direction will be strengthen the response to disasters and climate change. And here again, this we have to work
Χτύπησε το
with
τηλέφωνο.
different international
Όχι,
organizations and
γιατί?
centers as well. So
Άκουσες κουδούνι.
the issue of adaptation to climate and approaching the solutions based on the natural conditions and using the systemic transformations or approaching by creating a systems here will be also important directions. And regarding the public investment, so this is also a new block, and here in designing the public investment programs, starting the building the social infrastructures, social buildings, the important attention will be paid on using water efficient technologies and to build the systems for ensuring the efficiency of heating system, etc., etc. So these are the basically main directions and blocks in our strategic framework. And so how we will organize our institutional framework is
Έλεγα μου,
the Ministry of
παρακολουθώ
Economic
μια
Development
παρουσίαση, αλλά
will be is a leading agency and will be coordinating cross-cutting
καλά
issues
έκανες, ναι.
between the government organizations and institutions here, and they will be in the draft of the strategic framework. We reflect the establishment of the interdepartmental council for coordination purpose and for resolving the cross-cutting issues. And can you next slide? Yeah. So here you can see some projects that we already start or planning to implement. These are the projects which are relevant to green energy. And I have to note that our plan to increase the share of the renewable energy by 25 to 30% by 2026. So in doing so, we will be basically developing solar energy, solar stations, and wind turbines, and wind energy, and also modernizing our hydroelectric power stations. This is in a nutshell, in brief. If there will be any questions, so we will be happy to take them. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Narkul. You gave very wide explanation of the green economy strategy of Uzbekistan, which includes policy and institutional framework, capacity building activities, tools, different financing mechanisms, and has a good concrete roadmap of actions on mitigation, adaptation, and you also specified about the RLC issue. And with regard to financial tools, I would like to give the next floor to Ms. Diora Kabulova, UNDP cluster leader on inclusive growth. To talk on innovative tools for financing the green transition, Sdg bonds and green sukuk. Please, Ms. Kabulova.
Good afternoon, good evening, dear colleagues. First of all, let me thank the Ministry of Economic Development and Poverty Reduction for inviting and providing this opportunity to contribute to today's important side event and to speak about the green financing in Uzbekistan. Let me start my presentation by saying that in recent years, we have been observing the transformation in the way the government thinks about climate finance. On your screens, you can see that in the last 5 years, Uzbekistan became a champion in terms of financing being channeled towards the climate agenda and green agenda. And this is not only in the absolute numbers, but also in the speed the country has scaled up the amount of funding that is being channeled towards the green agenda. This is thanks to very ambitious reform that is being realized by the government. And we just heard from Mr. Narkula, First Deputy Minister, about the very ambitious vision that the government has in terms of the green development, green transition. This is the financing also is very much in line with this ambitious reform agenda. So it is channeled towards very comprehensive set of state programs that come with significant climate benefits, such as water and soil improvement, disaster risk reduction, green infrastructure, better hydrometeorological services, and also significant domestic resources are invested to afforestation of the RLC dry bed, to protection of forest plantation in mountains, and other important programs. These are not only, the green agenda is not only funded by the public resources, but also by the private and public-private sources. So on the next slide, you can see just some of the projects that the government, together with the private sector, with the IFIs, is planning to realize in coming years. For instance, one of them is the solar power plant that is to be built worth $1 billion United States dollars. There is a number of solar and wind power projects that will be realized through public-private partnership. There is private investment into the solar plants that are expected in years to come. So again, these are just some of the public-private as well as the private and IFI financing that we see contribute to the development agenda. There are other efforts that are also taking place, and those are more on the innovative front. So we're talking here about the government recent initiatives around issuance of the SDG bonds, as well as the development finance bonds. These bonds have been issued in recent years, in 2020 as well as in 2021. The important aspect of SDG bond issuance is that it's channeled, the proceeds will be channeled towards social as well as the green projects. And just to highlight that out of the 8 sustainable development goals that will be funded through the proceeds of SDG bonds, 6 of them are green goals. So this already shows the commitment of the government toward the green agenda. Also in the making is the specific green bonds and green sukuk enabling environment that is being at the moment developed in the country. And here we see that there is a great interest both from the private sector as well as the government to issue this new financing instrument. The risk financing is also high in the government agenda. And there is a lot of space and a lot of opportunity to introduce the risk financing, the risk insurance instruments like drought insurance for smallholder farmers, for agri-clusters that have a lot of benefits in the long run. Again, I'm mentioning just some of the initiatives. There are many more that the government is implementing. Now, switching to a different type of initiative, I want to also mention the green budgeting as well as SDG budgeting. So this is the tool that is supposed to help the government to better track how the financing is spent, to monitor and to report on the development and on the impact. Just to give you an example of what I mean here, this is the chart that maps the state budget expenditures against the Sustainable Development Goals. And this is part of the work that the government is doing within the scope of its citizens' budget initiatives to show to the wider public how the money is being spent on different goals. And here you can see how the public spending is distributed among the green goals. This is the government is at the very beginning of this process, but it's a very important development, and it will help to better understand the trends, to better report on the public expenditures across different green goals. Now, to conclude, what are the next steps in terms of the green financing? So a lot has been done, but much more is ahead. And we see some of the priorities that already are integrated in the framework, in the vision that Mr. Narkulov has just presented, but let me highlight some of them. One of them is reforming the fossil fuel subsidies, introducing new financing solutions. Some of them I mentioned, but there are many more, like blended finance and other. Next is, of course, establishing a comprehensive monitoring framework for both public and private climate financing, green financing. It's important to strengthen resilience to the impact of climate risks. And also very important to integrate the strategic environmental assessment across programs, government programs, strategies, and plans. Last but not least, it's important to mainstream the green as well as green goals, SDGs across budgeting and planning process. I will stop here and let me again thank the ministry for providing this opportunity to speak, and just to highlight that financing is just one piece of a puzzle, but many more ingredients are needed in order to achieve the green agenda, and we are ready to support the government in this endeavor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Kabulova, for this very comprehensive presentation about the different green or climate financing mechanisms, and also tying it to SDG goals, analyzing the budgets and the risk financing. And also you importantly mentioned to reconsider the fossil fuel subsidies by the government and the importance of the strategic environmental assessment and the impact assessments. Thank you very much. And next presentation is about pathways to green and innovative future. Will be done by Wei Jin Liu, Senior Financial Specialist at the World Bank. Thank you, and the floor is yours, Mr. Liu.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Hope you can hear me or see me. I want to thank the government of Uzbekistan for the invitation, and especially Minister Nokul for giving us the opportunity to speak about the World Bank's work in the green growth area with you. The ministry has laid out the government's priorities in the green transition, and the World Bank is fully committed to supporting you in that transition. There is in fact some urgency to do this because the country is already beginning to see some of the environmental effects that will soon start to limit your economic activity. Let me try and share my screen. If you can see this. This was taken just last week in Tashkent. As you can see, visibility is poor from higher than normal particulate levels. Some probable causes, energy-intensive industrial activity and high emissions could be one, but also the arid conditions and the lack of forest cover in some nearby regions could be allowing dust to be carried into the city. So when we were brought into discussions with the government to help them frame the green transition, we shared our thinking on what green growth means and what the biggest opportunities are for Uzbekistan. For us, green growth means having policies that promote efficiency in the use of natural resources. One key feature of this is to use technology and a market for green products and practices to propel this transition. It also means that at a sector level, of course, you prioritize projects and programs with low resource use or low waste generation as a design consideration, and for those projects to target environmental indicators. Green growth should also mean policies to build a country's resilience to shocks and making sure that during the green transition, the most affected are taken care of. So we did provide inputs into the government's 6 focus areas or priority areas for green transition that you've just seen presented. And we will continue to help the government think through this transition for the green growth a bit more deeply. We'll be doing so with a package of green growth analytical work and technical assistance. This has several elements. Capacity building is one of them. We started already a series of policy workshops on green growth topics. Multiple government agencies participate. We started this in August with sessions added every few weeks, and it will end all the way in December. This will build awareness and understanding and knowledge of green growth topics. We'll also be working with donors to bring some green growth experts into the ministry, support planning and implementation of your green strategy framework. So that's the capacity building side. On the analytical side, there will be specific pieces. One of them is an institutional assessment on how various agencies are working together on this cross-cutting green economy agenda. And there will be recommendations on how to strengthen these links and coordination. We'll also have an analytical paper called the Green Growth Issues Note. This will attempt to quantify some of the benefits of green transition and recommend some areas to focus on to help maximize the growth and development opportunities. Quite importantly, we will dedicate some focused support on long-term decarbonization. So this will be to work with the Ministry of Economic Development and Poverty Reduction to help them work across government to produce an economy-wide strategy for low carbon development into the long term, up to 2050 and beyond. This will involve several sector ministries and will at least take up to a year or more. For specific target sectors like agriculture and water, we're offering the government some more support if they feel that that's needed to deep dive into green transition opportunities for the most immediate 5 to 10 year period. So this overall package of assistance and analytical work is designed around the government's 6 focus areas, priority areas for the green transition. And we hope this will help them keep the momentum in the implementation and provide some of the analytical basis for specific actions to be taken. But I'd like to just mention that within each of these 6 transition pillars, the bank has already begun some operations to support this work. These are all ongoing, and I'd like to go over what they are. In one of your focus areas on resource efficiency, under this pillar, we believe there's a great opportunity to boost agricultural income. Now, this is an important sector for the economy, and the sector, in fact, employs up to 1/3 of the country's workforce, mostly in the poor communities. Now, there's an opportunity that by restoring landscapes and having integrated watershed management, you can revive the functions of the ecosystem, raise the performance, and raise agricultural productivity. So to support this, the World Bank has already begun a Resilient Landscapes project. This is a $150 million policy-based loan with the support of IDA, the German and the Korean governments. And it aims to put about 100,000 hectares of land under sustainable landscape management, targeting plantations, agroforestry, water use, and ecotourism. And these are all productive sectors of the economy, and up to 140,000 people will be direct beneficiaries of this project, and potentially 8,000 jobs created. We'll also promote an operational database for landscapes to encourage cross-border work on landscape restoration. On the other focus area, priority area of the energy sector, now we feel there's a real opportunity to upgrade the energy sector with clean and efficient energy infrastructure. And this is because there's a real willingness of the private sector to come in, as you've heard from the UNDP speaker just before me. And we need to tap into that to bring low carbon technology and private capital into Uzbekistan. By doing so, you address some of your current constraints as well. As it now stands, Uzbekistan is the 5th most carbon intensive country per GDP in the world, and highest in Central Asia. This current model of high resource intensity has hit its limits, and you may not be able to squeeze much more growth out of this model. And in a carbon constrained world, this might become a real vulnerability for you if export markets and global regulations turn against this model. So the benefits are in bringing in foreign capital, you have private investment flows, better competitiveness and new technology, and you can really reap a shift to low carbon energy in this way. So the World Bank is already supporting this with some actual transaction and policy support in the energy sector. Together with our private sector financing arm, the IFC, we are already starting to back up to 1 gigawatt of renewable energy projects with private sponsors. This will demonstrate their viability in the market. I won't go into specific transaction details. I understand we will have a speaker from Masdar who is very familiar with the details on one of the solar IPPs that we're involved in. Maybe just to focus on our non-transaction work here, it's a fairly comprehensive package. It includes offering support on planning models to bring renewable energy sources, to regulatory work. It combines PPPs with renewable energy as project design, and pricing and market reforms to help the overall performance of the energy sector. So all this we're put together to try and put more clean energy into the power grid and decarbonize that grid. So the advantages of efficiency and low carbon technology should not be limited just to the energy sector, which brings me to the other focus area of the economy as a whole, including the industrial sector. The low carbon transition should definitely begin at the energy sector, but it should be economy-wide. And that must include the energy users. So the opportunity here is to modernize some of the other sectors in your economy, like industry, manufacturing, and agro-processing, especially with the help of new technology and private funding. This will help create more competitive industries and better jobs. Now, we will extend this thinking into other sectors, to urbanization, shifting more compact and connected and better planned cities. You will reap the benefits of higher productivity, better returns from electric mobility and low carbon transport investments, and better environmental conditions and better access to jobs and housing. So right now, the bank's support for the economy-wide low carbon development, touching on all these sectors, is not just about energy, it's more at the strategic level. What we mean by that is that we are now helping to lay the foundation for the long-term transition in all these sectors through the long-term decarbonization strategy work that I was referring to just now. But in the future, we will certainly include more specific lending support, especially if these investments are in line with the long-term strategy. And as mentioned earlier, the only green transition that will succeed will be one that's perceived to be fair by society. So there should be measures to look after industries and communities that are more adversely affected. So this is also a key pillar in the transition that we fully advocate. And to complete the vision of green growth, we see all these benefits in green policies, combining with investments into adaptation to really build the buffering capacity in your system against impacts. This will help lower your risk and exposure to external shocks, such as floods and severe storms, phenomena that's already experienced in Uzbekistan of late. So in summary, we'd just like to say that we're firmly behind the government's 6 transition priority areas. We're already beginning to provide existing support. And at the same time, we are supporting with a package of analytical work and strategic planning exercises to provide you with a long-term framework for the green economy. Now, this transition will happen gradually over many years, and it's truly a very exciting time for Uzbekistan. There's an opportunity for the people now to collectively shape what your future will look like. And we believe that the best role for us right now is to help you invest in a good set of long-term plans, so you have a maximum chance of realizing that vision in the future. So I thank you for the time, and close by saying that you can definitely count on the World Bank for support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Liu, on providing the World Bank's support to Uzbekistan strategy on green strategy. That's the policy dialogue, like institutional support, analytical work, capacity building, and plus with some actual work on ground on natural resource management, landscape, green energy, and disaster risks, etc. So thank you very much. And we are short on time. We are sharing this Central Asian pavilion with others. So now I'm going to give the floor to Mr. Rudolf Lessi, OECD, on his remarks and comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to emphasize the regional cooperation efforts that is happening in Central Asia, because this area is will be very impacted by climate change. We are expecting a decrease in precipitation by 5 times, and the increase in temperatures will be the double in the rest of the planet. So this is a very critical, vulnerable area that needs to, of course, improve the resilient infrastructure, reducing the vulnerability of the communities exposed to extreme weather events. And in doing that, we will have and we will see a lot of co-benefits. The World Bank is estimating that with cooperation in managing common ecosystems in the region, it is feasible to have additional benefit of $6.4 billion per year. At the moment, we saw in these presentations that the investment is about $200 million per year. There is a great potential in the region to use more renewables, to have nature-based solution projects where water will be the core element to address and improve. And also it is feasible to, of course, create synergies with this integrated approach that Deputy Minister Nukulov explained. I think that this comprehensive and holistic new green program that is aligned now with your climate neutrality target is the right way to go ahead and see in the future Central Asia that will be more sustainable, and you will be improving the well-being of the population as well. Thank you very much for having me today in this important event, and I wish you the best during the rest of the COP and the best results after the negotiations. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Rodolfo, for your comments and remarks on the green transition strategy of the Uzbekistan. And because of shortness of the time, I would like to give the floor. We are skipping the Q&A session. I'm giving the floor to Mr. Narkolov, First Deputy Minister of the Economic Development and Poverty Reduction, for closing remarks. Please, floor is yours.
Thank you. I want to thank Diora, Wei Jin, and Rodolfo, and others for their grateful comments and the presentations, which are of great interest for us. Just in order to conclude, I have to say that it's now clear, and we already see from our life that climate change is saying its own words, especially for regions, countries. So hot summers, sometimes changing the seasons, like sometimes we can have a freezing air in the springtime, and the recent dust storm which hit not only Uzbekistan but several countries in the region and some regions of Russia. So this is the thing that we have to think again, that there's a change is going on. If we don't do any action, so it will be late. So in other words, taking the actions now, it's a lot easier and cheaper to fight with the outcomes. So in this regard, I have to note that we have all necessary support, both in financial terms, technical terms, and now we have formed our agenda, and we started to work we are not waiting like 2050 or 2060. So the key things that renewable energy, we started to do that. Forestation. So we have already concrete actions and action plans. So this is very important because if you are going to net zero, so you have to have a good capacity or condition for carbon capture. So we are doing this. And the remaining is, I think, I have to wish all the best and success to our partners and my colleagues in order to succeed and to go further with a long-term strategy towards strategy. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you all participants for active work. We had good job. And as a final word, I would like to cite our president's speech on recent inaugural event, where he mentioned that environment is top priority, even before extremism or other security issues. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.